Helio, Sirius, Taurus, Moon, Mercury, our moon day, which is basically Venus night. And we're going to take it 20 minutes backwards because as I was broadcasting, there was basically a military crash in the United States. B-52. The belief is that the eight crew members that were on the B-52 bomber probably did not make it, and was an experimental routine mission and crashed soon after the liftoff. So this was while we were speaking about the Uranus applying to square the nodes and the aviation issues. This would be at around now. Oh, I can tell the reading from here because I don't think we have the location of the military bases, and by us here in the Middle East it would be around Venus hour. Venus applying to oppose Pluto, Saturn, Aries, Moon Cancer. The IC would be on Sirius on the big sun. And that, I believe, was when I was talking about automation. Because I was doing a video, I'm uploading a video about the summit, the NATO summit, and I was talking about automation risks. And that was basically where the IC from here was around the sun to the bigger sun of the summit. So unfortunately that is with Uranus milliseconds from entering the third degree already in a degree orb to squaring the nodes. Mars in Taurus ruled by Venus, that applies to oppose Pluto, and we get some sort of a crash. Sun in Gemini, Mercury in Cancer. That can be the automation, a failure in the automation. The connection between some sort of a connection with the automation and the sun can be, I don't know, sun Mercury can range anywhere from sensing, or if there is something, if there is a spectroscopic camera or something like that, then there could be some sort of connection Mercury Cancer, something that was supposed to take care of some connection, or something that was supposed to detect, the spectroscopic detection. Moon, unfortunately, moon sign, people were killed, unfortunately. It can be pilot, co-pilot. Mercury ruling over Uranus, Sedna. Mercury ruling over Uranus, Sedna. I was talking about the sovereignty at the line of production of weapon, at the chain of command, and Sedna can have something exploding disconnected to that. Um, Ascendant ruled by Mars. Ascendant would have been probably 22 in upon, with Mars, last decan of Taurus. This is a decan of spirit and matter that can be something that was intervening also on an esoteric level. Um, Again, one assumption, and yes, Venus opposing Pluto. Pluto is something to do with power and control. Perhaps with the structure of technology, there perhaps was more power to automation than to the sovereignty of um, or something occultistic that was affecting the sovereignty of the team, and that can be, whether it's nervous system hack or esoteric intervention. um, Probably has to do with that ascendant 22ing. Chiron at the end of Aries, 29 degrees. So the news would arrive here on the ascendant 22 probably, and the crash itself could have been a little bit before that. Mercury could have been in 18 degrees if it was a couple of hours before, and it can be toxic or toxins. Um, and here I would be receiving that on a Venus hour, Venus Leo, Sun Gemini. I do, by and large, I see it as as Uranus Sedna squaring the nodes, or Uranus squaring the nodes. Uranus is also bombs, and Jupiter is aviation. So big aviation bombs, a bomber plane. Um, the applying bisextile to Pluto and Neptune can already give us the rejuvenation of the bomber planes, if by and large. That is, yeah, kind of a scary prediction. I'm not saying that we're going to see it, but it's a part of the agreement that we have in harmonic aspects between Uranus and Pluto. Um, and more things that can explode can be nuclear leaking stuff. Um, and by the way, as we looked at the summit, those can even be accidental. So um, Um, yeah, definitely. This is that Uranus square. Um, was showing up on the Israeli news. And now, 11 minutes ago, CIA head warned Trump Iran is not expecting to agree with the nuclear. Um, with the nuclear points. Both Marco Rubio and Pete Hext expressed their concern from, from regarding the agreement. Um, yeah, first of all, Mercury is in his, I believe, he's already in his shade period. But by the summit, if everybody's here by the summit, and then and uh, so yeah, it wasn't like I was expecting Iran to just go short on A bombs when nobody else is, or when there is a nuclear race. Fair and square is kind of like, hey, that's kind of like stating the obvious. We can't expect we can't just expect Iran to respect the nuclearification where everybody else is nuclear racing. Yeah, and this is where we think about Aries is also the rational player. Like, it's, again, of course, it's not about, oh, why did they even pose that as a condition. Um, that's a strategy question, but regardless of the strategy, it's kind of like it ain't like we expect them to actually respect that. Um, and this was milliseconds before, just as I was speaking basically about the possibility of rejuvenating bomber planes and nuclear bombs. Um, Also thinking about the bombs that have been there since, let's say, the Soviet era. Um, yeah, I mean nuclear. I mean nuclear bombs. Um, More of these U.S. news. Consideration to rehabilitate Iran. $300 billion. Of what national what national debt? Meanwhile, NATO countries paying up to 5%. Mars is going to conjoin Uranus. Anyway, somebody's going to mention that. Oh my God. Now, no, I wonder who's that European country that's going to say, okay, but in cash. And the actual bills. Albania. Oh my God. Oh my God. Why am I saying that? Because the Mars Uranus in the 10th house is in Gemini, being serious for a slight of a bit of a speck of a second, is also around technology and finances or fintech. We're seeing the localization of fintech in Europe, and that was a question. That was, I mean, it's not like there aren't Europeans thinking about that. You put people to count the bills, providing jobs. with the calculator. Yeah, broadcasting here from New Egypt. There are some bombings in Hormuz. Iran says to manage the movement or the traffic around Hormuz. How does that? What did they? um, okay, let's see. Yesterday, okay, so far, so far, so good. Uranus is square in the notes. That's just gonna keep showing up towards the summit, and then the summit is kind of the release, upon the release of the Mars Uranus from that square, but still applying to the B6 Tau. And again, the release from a square aspect is where the things go Mercury 19 Cancer. Uranus agreement with Neptune. Can be revolution in the intelligence. Um, Mars in Venus, Venus opposing Pluto. Probably big confrontations of And we see it at this time, okay? Women standing up for their rights. Um, can be women, can be the feminine, but I'm getting that this one is more women. Whenever something creates an agreement or a friction with Pluto, the issue on a mundane level of A bombs pops up. Um, there is also and let me tell you something in very authentically and very honestly. Neptune is also eroticism. Mars in Venus sign is and Neptune sextile Uranus. Uranus is Kundalini rise. Pluto is what is the core essence of what we actually want. So there can be the tendency in this time, particularly for women, to think about what do they actually want. What's the bigger vision? Neptune is also the bigger dream. It's both eroticism and the vision, the big vision. Because what we are, when we, let's just say, our healthy sense of eroticism, which is usually soul alignment. It's a body, heart, mind, and soul, and ether, and it usually is about the big vision, and is not so much about power, particularly with Venus in Leo. It needs to be, it needs to align with the heart, and that atmosphere is very uh, and with all these outer planets there is the awareness that that needs to operate particularly also in the bigger, worldly success, the bigger vision. Neptune is considered the higher octave of Venus. Um, and with Venus Leo, there is it's all this configuration together is a soul alignment issue. Is not a fame and fortune issue on a superficial level. It's a soul alignment issue. As the bigger vision questions. doesn't work with economic kinship. Now this is all very aligned. If I was, working on the chart of the summit, and and how the eighth house, the swiped under the rug things with Neptune in the eighth house, is so accentuating of that. And that Lilith 22ing, NATO also naturally has Mars and Venus there, with the Sun and Mercury and Lilith and Rahu and Lilith. So, and that was a part of the things that were swiped under the rug to be very authentic. Um, this friction of the Mars Venus, because up until now we were hearing a lot about, oh well, Security Council decision, UN Security Council decision 1325, making sure that, kind of like, oh, making sure that nobody rapes, but we weren't hearing about the bigger vision, the soul alignment. Different type of eroticism than the militant, and eighth house is also house of birthing. The sovereign birthing woman, the sovereign birthing military complex affiliated woman. Those issues were coming up at least since April. That, oh, something needs to go somewhere, is actually having a big vision that's actually in soul alignment. And whether it is spoken or out or unspoken, is like a giant waves of that women, feminine, eroticism, big vision. Everything has to fit and align with that sovereign birthing stuff. Just because it's a changing time. I mean, what is war? It's changing time. No. A lot of fortune on Aries around Aries when I speak about it. Okay, I just want. There's a lot. All those things that I was talking about, Aries sovereignty, this wave of eroticism, which is completely new. The big vision. Um, and then Neptune and Uranus agreeing. Uranus was just around Sedna. Yeah, because that can't be. Okay, trafficking won't appease that eroticism, let's just say. So women are not here to raise the morale, they also need to be in their own morale, and that's the soul alignment. Like, people are gonna say, "Oh, Shirley, it's war, it's bombings, it's this, it's that, it's enough with Marlene Dietrich singing to the American army and then belonging to her German mother." Like, some. um, and Also, when we think about unity, Jupiter is cohesion, Venus is basically bringing things together. Where? In alignment with the heart in Leo. Different frequency to this. And that's probably the opposition with Pluto. Soul alignment based negotiations and conflict management is not economic hitmanship, therefore it doesn't have anything to hide, and it doesn't work with the same strategies. It's not appeased, it's not satisfied with the same strategies. More towards the end of June, we're gonna have the Sun squaring Pluto, the Sun squaring Neptune. Um, and then with Aries, there's a bigger accentuation. In general, Neptune Aries is the eroticism that is around the sense of self, in the sense of uh, it's not like I said, it's the higher octave of Venus. And it accentuates the understanding that first of all that it takes two sovereigns, and that it is centered around what both people actually want, and only what they want together can come to fruition and have good results. Now, the eroticism and Mars are very connected because it's our drive, it's our interest, it's our um, it is also the things that could be the bigger picture of where we negotiate, how we negotiate, the hidden dynamics. And also the hidden frictions. And this is where now Neptune Aries is almost, how should I say that, it's to mythical levels, and this is where even the slightest tiniest energy bit of not honoring the sense of self and eroticism is met with mythical friction. Like if we think that Venus Leo is Me Too, or if we thought that Uranus Aries is Me Too, the world has not seen Neptune. Feminism is around like 150 years, cycle of Neptune years old. And this is where, let's just say, Neptune is also the bigger picture, or the holistic picture, and this is where every sovereign needs to remember that they are also the feminine, in the sense that um, none of those who were calling to burn the witch survived the guillotine, the killing of the warlocks, the crusades in various, and even the industrial boom had to eventually give women the right to vote, and was beginning with women, how should I say that, being at the center of labor. The women knew how to do most of the manual labor, which would eventually lead to two wars that completely established the right to vote. Um, in general, in Aries, people have less tolerance to what is not authentically true to them. Authentically true to them. And this is it kind of makes our I am clear as day. And with Aries, the Aries logos, it's also that notion like, hey, wars are not there for economic hitmanship, for arranging a conflict and profiting off of a conflict. This is also why, let's just say, if that was the Jewish elite, banking elite, then the Jews suffered anti-Semitism. If that would have been, let's say, the Persian or the Eastern, they would have suffered. Okay, I don't remember when was the time of the Sassoons. It's simply because people can't stand the doctrine of, it's not just Uranus and the civil wars, it's also, and it's not so much about which religion or which origin. It's about that strategy that does not align with soul alignment. People don't have that much time, that much patience for what doesn't align with soul alignment for them. Aries is the exaltation of the sun. And if people are abrasive and harassing, and then that chronic helplessness in the face of that becomes radiation plague. Think about Bill Gates when he was growing within the myriad of, and then something came out of his, a statement came out of him and said that he wanted to become, that he would think to become a virus that destroys the entire population. And even if we put all the lawsuits aside and all, it's an authentic sentiment. It's a wave of women in the feminine, but particularly women worldwide. And I'll say even more, the cisgender women as well. Trans women, LGBTQ, absolutely. But also the cisgender women. And with Aries, it's not about subjugating.